Willkommen. Willkommen once more from Warsaw. The first day when there hasn't been a heavy police presence and at least one vehicle here belonging to the police. However, we do have two police ladies, or maybe one's a guy, I'm not sure. Never know these days, do you? Anyway, got two police just walking down on patrol. It's all a bit of a mystery because it's all peaceful, and even the drunkenness of a Saturday night, I think, leads to generally non-violent behaviour. As far as I know, word on the street is it's all relatively good-natured, but I wouldn't know, of course, because I went to bed at a reasonably early hour, and so do most of the people in the rooms. In fact, I'm only seeing a few of the same old faces each day. I don't know if that means that everybody else is choosing to take advantage of the proximity of all the cafes here, or if they're having their cheeseburgers and fries delivered to their beds by a Bolt delivery driver. All a bit of a mystery to me. So it's not a hostel as you would think, which you might imagine would attract a horde of party people, at least not during my stay, which is good from my perspective, even though the location suggests it would be a very attractive spot if you were coming here to party. But yeah, please don't spoil New World Street Hostel if that's your intention. Stay somewhere else. Maybe rent an Airbnb with your mates, and don't wreck everybody else's experience. That's what my advice would be to any of you stag guys, or hen girls, hen parties too. All I can say is hush my mouth, because there I am saying how calm it is on the streets of Warsaw, and a blaring ambulance goes by. Probably somebody just getting a heart attack, having seen the price of their morning cocktail or something. I don't know. Here we are at Rondo de Gaul, at the end of Nowy Świat, kind of. At the intersection with the tram lines. There's our old friend Ujazdowskie. I'm repeating some of the names again because I think, you know, if I just mention them once or twice in each video, these are the sort of transport heart and lungs for getting up and down and around about Warsaw for most tourists. And they'll kind of sink in for you, I think, and you'll become accustomed to it. Oh yeah, he's mentioned Nowy Świat, New World Street several times, Ujazdowskie, Marszałkowska, Świętokrzyska. Yeah, I'm getting a sense of the layout. These are the main north, south, east, west, either metro lines, tram lines, bus lines. And now we're heading down away from the centre. Reason is tomorrow I've got to check out of the hostel and move up towards the old town, and therefore, as this is my last day here in this spot, it seemed to make sense that we'd explore south of Rondo de Gaul. There is a very good reason why. From the royal castle up on the edge of the old town, the king would have his royal route all the way down to his castle. I'm talking not exclusively, but kind of. There's one king in mind when you think of this park, and when you think of that castle, really the most prominent king, John III, Jana Sobieskiego or something like that. John Sobieski to his friends. That king his name is synonymous with both the royal palace on the edge of the old town and also the park we're going to, Łazienki Park. Sort of bathroom park. because of the water features, it gets that name, I guess. And this was the royal route, which is impossible to imagine a king coming down here a few hundred years ago, hit with his entourage between the castle and the beautiful park with the water features, where he may or may not have enjoyed bathing, who knows? You never know with people a few hundred years ago and their bathing habits, do you? Anyway, it looks kind of like a route which wouldn't be very interesting in the 21st century for some of us to bother walking. It's, according to Google Maps, a 22-minute walk if you want to come down here the way I'm going. And then we should be at the park. And along the way, there's always that feeling of you can never be sure of exactly what you might see, particularly with odd statues, buildings, architecture, monuments, plaques on walls. They're big on that kind of thing here, so it might be that you'll be able to decipher, oh, this is the building where Ujazdowskie residence. Who was he? Building begun before 1784, completed after 1790, probably designed by Shimon B. Zug. Neoclassical, burnt down 1944, rebuilt in 1950. Yeah, there's a few uncertainties there. Biggest one for me being, who the heck was Ujazdowskie in the first place? That's one for Google. And there's always the unexpected. Here we go. Building works. So let's go round this way, shall we? So we came down from Nowy Świat and Ronda de Gaulle, and I'm still trying to find my way round all this roadworks and the fencing. We can make it. I know we can. But the fencing does go on a bit. This place is called the Place of Three Crosses. Never heard of Vincent Ertos, but he's got himself a statue in Warsaw. And at this point, if you feel like it, we can veer off the main road, which would take us straight down to the park, and take a slight detour and just give you a look at the Parliament building, which is in the neighbourhood. Seem a shame not to see it, wouldn't it? What's this I see before me in a park setting? Some kind of monument. Is it like a modern Olympic torch? Is that what it represents? I wouldn't have thought so, because Poland's never hosted the Olympic Games. Kebab wrap on two legs? No. Something entirely different. Polish Army, 1999. What were they getting up to in 1999? Or is this when the monument was revealed to the world? Something to do with Pope John Paul II, the Polish Pope, who was in the Vatican at the time. Polish viewers, kindly inform me in the comments below. What's all that about then? I don't know if there's heightened security these days, or if it's just generally a feature of 21st century living, but there's guard presence, which I'm managing to not annoy on this occasion. Here's the Parliament building. Definitely can't take a stroll in the gardens. And yeah, the same. S-E-J-M. I think it's pronounced same. Oh, and this very same monument we saw here, which is connected with the Second World War, I see, takes on an entirely different appearance from this angle, doesn't it? Look at this. Certainly very different. An interesting vehicle contraption of some kind. Home construction. And I think we've got a little bit of Polish political satire here. These two stones, one from Canada and one from Poland, commemorate the Canadian and Polish soldiers who fought side by side during the Second World War. A former American president, Ronald Reagan, well remembered here by the Polish folk, and I'll tell you why. He very much supported those Polish people who strived for freedom against the oppression of Kremlin influence in a communist Poland in, when was it? Let's say 40 years ago? Around the turn of the 80s, yeah, around 1980-ish, 81, something of that sort. And he made it particularly easy and open, comparatively speaking, for Polish people who wanted their voice to be heard in opposition to the communist regime here. They found themselves getting thrown in jail, losing their jobs, not being able to get new jobs in their homeland. So he made it more possible for those Polish people to get to America, join a housing scheme, get accommodation, get work over there, and find some sense of freedom. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Former B-movie actor who went on to greater things. From a Polish perspective, at least. To be frank, if it didn't have his name at the bottom, I wouldn't have a clue, because it doesn't actually look like him, does it? It's a pretty poor rendition of Ronald Reagan's features. Now, this has brought us back onto our general path down to Łazienki Park. Rather conveniently, I think. I'll just consult my paper map and see where the heck we are. Yes, we've got Park Ujazdowskie coming up on the left. Nice, we're on track. But it's taking an awful lot more than the 22 minutes Google Maps suggested, not just because of the roadworks we encountered at the Three Crosses place, but because I'm being sidetracked to try and get glimpses of a few other things just off the main drag. And I think it's worth it, isn't it? Perhaps it will come as no surprise to any of you that there are a large number of embassies right here in the vicinity of the House of Parliament in Warsaw. There you are. Łazienki Królewskie, the Royal Park of Łazienki. Only a kilometre to go, as the crow flies. And as soon as at all possible, I've slipped into the park just because I can. Wouldn't you? Let's face it, rather come into a park than walk next to traffic. Several statues by the looks of things. Vases, sculpture, a pergola. Oh, and allegedly a toilet should you need it. And not just allegedly. Here we go. It's padlocked. So, yeah, let's hope nature doesn't call when you're visiting Park Ujazdowskie. I want to climb over that low hedge and get a much closer look at this statue, but of course I can't because it's really, yeah, you're not allowed, are you? You know you're not allowed, so don't do it. But maybe I can get a little closer. Who is he? Perseus? Don't know. Not even close with Perseus. That was a lousy guess. And it's not Neptune either, before you say anything. He's Gladiator, with a net and a trident and a helmet at his feet. Polish pianist, famous Paderewski. He's got his little monument here in Park Ujazdowskie. Behind the trees is, at the moment, a sealed off adventure playground for the kids. Something to bear in mind when you visit Warsaw. If you're coming this way and the kids are getting bored, you can burn off some energy in that adventure playground. Bit of work's going on at the moment. They've got fencing around it, but it looks like quite a nice adventure park for the small people. And I'd like to reference back to the Ronald Reagan statue and the brief little story I was mentioning there. And it could well be that you were thinking at the time, oh, here we go. He's read another not particularly well fleshed out Wikipedia article. You know the sort. And he's just dropped that in. Well, actually no, because I haven't done that much research before today's walkie and talkie. The truth of it is far less interesting than that. But hopefully not, really. I'm just joking. Stay with me. Some years ago, I was travelling on a train in the deep south of Poland. Yep. I'm talking the deep south. And I got talking with an elderly Polish gentleman who had been a part of the union movement 40 years ago and more, which was trying to break the hold of the communist regime here in Poland. And as a result, he did indeed serve time in prison, he told me. And when he came out of prison, he found, when he tried to return to work, basically another statue of a lady with no clothes on in a park. You do wonder whether people coming to Europe, walking around the park, seeing the statues, think that, crikey, these people are obsessed with naked women in statue form. Get completely the wrong impression of Europeans if they come from Asia or Africa, don't you think? Or would you agree with that summation? Perhaps you would. And then back to the train compartment where I was chatting with the elderly Polish gentleman, and he was relaying the details of his life story, most of which, of course, I can't remember. But the most interesting part I can. And that was having served his prison time for committing the crime of wanting freedom of speech, for example, a heinous crime back in the 1970s in Poland, in the eyes of the communist government at least. The man had returned to normal life, in theory, but he found basically he'd been blacklisted, so he could not only not get a job where he used to work, he couldn't get a job anywhere in Poland. So it was this kind of sneaky, underhand tactic, you know, persecuting your family as well as you, forcing you to keep your mouth shut and not complain about the government in power. This was the sort of strategy that really oppressed people. Because obviously, if you can't work, if you can't find a job in Poland, what the hell are you going to do? You've already served some prison time when you shouldn't have been thrown in prison. Hard times indeed. And the solution came as a result of intervention from Ronald Reagan. the White House back then decided, okay, we're going to support the Polish people's movement for democracy and open our doors, make it much easier for Polish people who are having similar sorts of experiences to the man I'd met on the train. And so this gentleman was one of those Polish people who went to America, found he received a great deal of help in getting housing and work in America. His plan wasn't to go to America because he saw it as the promised land or anything like that. He just wanted to survive and do the best for his family, and hoped one day that finally the communist yoke would be removed from Poland and he could return. And of course, by the time I was talking to him on a train, things had changed mightily. He was now sort of living his life half in America and half in Poland. His children, one had decided to stay in America, got married and was raising a family there. The other child was grown up as well, but they had decided they wanted to return to Poland and try to pick up where they left off as a child years earlier. So that was interesting to get an insight into the workings of the oppression of an extreme government like that, an extreme system, a tyranny. You know, they don't gather up everybody and kill them if they're in opposition. They just oppress them and make life as difficult as possible for them to open their mouths and complain, because the punishments, if they do, not only impact on them, but their family, their friends, maybe even the employers. And the employers get told, you cannot employ this guy, you will not, or something will happen to your family, or you will go to prison. And yeah, the tentacles of an authoritarian regime. Yeah, I'm not thinking of writing an article on it, but that would sum it up, I think, quite accurately. I was trying to remember, where is Zamek Ujazdowski, the actual Ujazdowski castle? And the answer is, it's not in the park. Foolish me. The park dates back to when? The park dates back to the 1890s. In place of the fields of Ujazdów village. Aha. Wonder what the villagers thought about that. Probably not very happy at the time. Or maybe they liked the idea of the place being beautified and they got an upgrade on the cottages they were living in. Who can say? And it's one of those moments. Yep, it's oh right, I wasn't expecting that moment. Oh, I want to go and have a look what's down there. Crikey. So this used to be an underpass and now it's getting, well, it's taken a hammering, and I don't know what they're doing with that.